So good afternoon. My name is Brian Noller. I'm the director of Northland Career Center. I'm also a member of the Northland Education Business Alliance, or NEBA. NEBA is a network of education business organizations in the Clay and Platte Counties whose vision is to promote and provide business-driven educational opportunities for you or the next generation of business leaders. I'll be your host during this session, but we have two other NEBA members working in the background. Amy Washam, NEBA Educational Co-Chair, is serving as the moderator for this event, and Courtney Willis from Metropolitan Community College will be serving as the technical director. So just a few quick notes before we introduce our guest speaker for the session. This session will run for 40 minutes with a hard stop at 1:40 p.m. Our industry experts will begin by sharing their professional history and insight, but we want this to feel more like a conversation. At the bottom of your screen, you should see an option to use a Q&A feature. We encourage you to use that space to post any questions you might have at any point during the session. We may not be able to get to all of them, but we'll do our best. And when the session ends, we'll ask you to take a very short survey. Please give us some feedback on the event so we can get better at hosting things like this in the future. Last but not least, this session will be recorded and available on NEBA's YouTube channel in the near future. Okay, so let's get started. I'd like to go ahead and introduce, I'll say the names and we'll let people introduce themselves a little bit more, but we have with us today Theresa Brown, Victim Assistance Specialist for the Department of Homeland Security Investigations. We also have Melissa Evans, Emergency Management Director for Clay County Sheriff's Department. And our final guest is Rasheed Brown, Director of Security for Worlds of Fun. So let's go ahead and start with Theresa, if you'd like to tell us a little bit more.
So, as Brian said, I am Theresa Brown, and I started my career actually in the military. I did 10 years as a helicopter mechanic in the United States Army and 1 tour in Afghanistan. And upon getting out, I got my degree in social work. And so I started with the Department of Defense, just dealing with victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. And I switched over to Homeland Security, and now I deal with victims of human trafficking, human smuggling, child exploitation, and document fraud.
Okay, let's have Melissa go next.
Hi, I'm Melissa Evans. I am the Clay County Emergency Management Director at the Clay County Sheriff's Office. I have been here for going on 10 years. I started in detention, juvenile detention, then I was in detention for several years and then got the opportunity to go to emergency management. And I can tell you at that point, you kind of get addicted and you really like it because there's so many variables about it. So that's where I'm at. But I do have a communications degree from Northwest Missouri. So I'm excited about that and really excited about to be here and represent that as well.
Thank you, Melissa. Raashid, you want to go ahead now?
Sure. Thank you, Brian and Amy, for hosting. I am Rasheed Brown, the Director of Security here at Worlds of Fun. Worlds of Fun was my first job, so I've been here in a full-time capacity for the last 2 years, but I started with Worlds of Fun when I was 14 years old. My law enforcement career encompassed working for the Jackson County Sheriff's Office here in Kansas City, and then 5 years with the Dallas Police Department. I came back to Kansas City in 2018 and have been grateful to join the Worlds of Fun team in 2019. Super excited about our conversation and our time together today.
Okay. Well, at this time, if you have questions and you're we have 4 participants with us from, I believe, based on the names I see, from probably 3 different schools, and we also have someone following from NEBA. If you have questions, please post them for these our professional audience here and our participants in the group here. One thing I might ask while we're waiting is just tell us a little bit about what is a normal day. We'll start with Raashid. What does a normal day look like at Worlds of Fun Security? What does it look like in your job?
Well, a normal day around Worlds of Fun is a fun day for sure, especially with our venue and us being able to have the opportunity to host fun and have fun for our community. For security, our day starts a little earlier. We like to arrive before our ambassadors and our guests get here just to make sure we already have our safe environment set up for success for the day. And then the majority of our day is spent on our midways engaging with our ambassadors and our guests. We really take to heart the seriousness of providing a safe atmosphere for our ambassadors and our guests in our community. So our day starts early. We're usually the first ones here and the last ones to leave at the end of a successful day.
Thank you, Raashid. What about you, Melissa? What does your typical day look like in your role?
Well, in emergency management, it varies. Typically we get up, we check, I'm automatically on the phone seeing what happened, what did I miss the night before, because I wasn't that many hours ago, it seems like I just put up the phone. But we check and see what's going on. I also monitor what happens inside the jail as much as what happens inside the county. So we know what's happening everywhere. And then, but my planner is here daily and my specialist. So when they come in, their day looks a little different than mine, but it is basically monitoring, seeing what's going to happen, hoping nothing bad happens, but planning for the when instead of the what if.
Thanks, Melissa. What about you, Teresa? What does your typical day look like in your role?
Well, a typical day is different every day. I cover 4 states: Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska. So depending on what has gone on in each one of those states, if a special agent has have an identified victim, depending on what that victim needs, if I might be trying to find shelter, might be trying to find inpatient drug rehab facilities, maybe trying to help somebody get a driver's license from the DMV who their identity has been stolen and someone has racked up millions of tickets on their ID. Maybe trying to find a child a placement because we rescued them from trafficking. So a day in my world looks different. Forrest Gump always said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So I can sum that up. My day is like a box of chocolates. I don't know what I'm going to get from what state. So I always have to be prepared for whatever.
Well, thank you, guys. That was a great response to that first question, because I know that we have a lot of kids on the call that want to know what can it look like when I actually grow up and go into a professional career. So what do you feel like are the most important skills that you need to be successful in a position like yours? Let's start with Melissa this time. What's some of the skills that you need to be successful in your role at the Clay County Sheriff's Department?
I was trying to think of the best way to answer that. I think the biggest thing you have to be is patient, but yet ready to go at any time. I mean, like Teresa had mentioned, and even Raashid, when you are daily not sure what's going to happen, you've got to be flexible, you've got to be adaptable, you've got to be able to communicate, you've got to be able to listen and understand what's being said to you or what is happening and how to respond. So there are a lot of different variables, but being adaptable, being available, and available for anything at any given time. So it varies, but I mean, we're dealing with man-made and natural disasters. So you've got to be able to adapt to whatever's happening, how it's going to go down, what do we need, and my specialist refers to it kind of like the match.com. We get the resources to the problem and we're just kind of the middleman dealing with what's going on. So I always laugh every time I say that, but it's really true.
Thanks, Melissa. What about you, Raashid? What skills are you looking for someone in your role or roles you supported at Worlds of Fun?
So Worlds of Fun, I think the most important skill, and Melissa hinted on it for sure, is communication. Written and verbal communication are important, but for a critical infrastructure such as Worlds of Fun, communication is our lifeline. Being able to receive information and put it in an aspect where others can understand it and being able to relay the information. The second most important skill that I would say is necessary and crucial for us is problem solving. Be able to have a situation, be able to think ahead, know what resources are available to you at the time, and to make an appropriate decision for the action.
What about you, Teresa? What are some of the skills you're looking for or help you be successful in your role?
You have to be able to collaborate in my job because we are the federal government. There is, as you know, a lot of red tape and there's a lot of things, even as government employees, we can't do. So I cannot do my job without non-government organizations. So you have to be able to collaborate. You have to be a people person. You cannot be one of those people that I don't like people, I don't deal with. No, you have to be a people person, have people skills, personable skills, and you cannot be you have to be non-judgmental in my job because it could be you. What a difference a day makes. A lot of people for some reason think that people want to be trafficked. No, you have no idea how people have gotten into these type of situations because I deal with sex trafficking and labor traffic victims. And then you have to be able to think outside the box. There is no cookie cutter answer. You can rescue 2 victims from the same place and there's still no cookie cutter answer to help both of them.
Teresa,
Thank
we
you.
did have a question that came in from our participants. They were curious, where's your office located? You had mentioned serving 4 different states. So are you here locally?
So my office is located in Kansas City, Missouri, and I do have to travel to all the offices that we have within Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, and Nebraska.
So approximately how many different offices would that be?
Ooh, that is a lot.
Dozen, couple, like 20 more?
It's not more than 20, but right around that dozen area. So yeah, but those might be the offices, but your victims may be any and everywhere within Missouri. So I cover the whole state, not just that office, the whole state of Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, and Missouri.
Thank you, thank you. We did have another follow-up question for all of our panelists today. Do you let students job shadow in your offices? And if so, do the students have to be 18 years or older, or are there options for our high school aged individuals? So Raashid, would you like to start?
Absolutely. Not only do we allow students to shadow, but we actually employ students. A lot of our students have expressed an interest in the criminal justice field. So they're either in college, doing the criminal justice internship, or they have an interest and want to see, well, I don't know if this is really something I want to do. So we actually provide that opportunity. We do hire them on at 18. If you're not quite 18, but you're close enough, we could work with you. And we also enable them to get commissioned by the Kansas City Board of Police Commissioners so they can have police powers on Worlds of Fun property. So absolutely for us.
Wonderful. Melissa?
Thought I had to unmute. Yes, and the emergency management, yes, we do shadowing, and am working in intern programs. So we've had one that was with Drury University, and I actually hired Andy, my planner, and she was a graduate of Northwest Missouri State, so keeping it in the family too. But also we're trying to do shadows with high school. It depends if you're doing emergency management or if you want to do the sheriff's office. There are some variables that are a little different. If you're doing ride-alongs and things of that nature, there's a little bit more of a process. But for emergency management, we enjoy anybody that wants to learn, and we'd like to work with them, show them what it's about, and then try to get them as volunteers and show them what it's like in a disaster's time versus not in a disaster, and kind of give them that feel for what it's about.
Wonderful. And Teresa?
So with Homeland Security, we do have an internship program. And if a college student is accepted into the internship program, they would not shadow me necessarily because of the confidentiality I have to have with the victims, but they get to see other different aspects of Homeland Security. So they might get to work with a special agent one day, and they may get to work with an analyst another day. So they will still be able to see some great things, but as far as with victim assistance specialists, they wouldn't be able to go out on a call with me. They wouldn't be able to sit there with me with a victim because of that confidentiality.
So for those of you with internship programs, do you want to give a quick shout out to a web address or a location that they can Google to find out more information on those? Raashid?
Sure. For Worlds of Fun, it's worldsofun.org/jobs. Really simple. And you can apply also from your phone or from desktop computer, or you can certainly get a hold of me through email. We're glad to connect you.
Awesome. Melissa?
You can visit our website, claycountyemergencymanagement.com, or you can message me directly. It's mevans@sheriffclayco.com.
Thank you. Teresa?
And actually just email me. That'll be Tereasa, that's TEREASA.brown2@ice.dhs.gov. And we have this whole packet, and you will have to go through a background check and everything in order to intern with us.
Okay. I'm going to ask a slight follow-up to that. We have at Northland Career Center, I want to give a shout out to, we have kids that are on the call now watching with Miss Theresa Shirley. So they're very interested to do internships in high school, unpaid, a lot more than likely, maybe paid, depending on, I know Raashid, we've had kids there. Are there more opportunities for high school kids to do some of those shorter hours, either through a Northland Career Center, Northland CAPS are one of the professional studies programs in the Northland?
Absolutely. So our internship is actually paid. So we pay you and give you the opportunity to get the experience for us. But I know, as a follow-up to the question of, what if they're not 18? We highly suggest those who are not quite old enough or not quite 18 to become a lifeguard, because those certifications are kind of synonymous with security as relates to emergency management, crowd management, CPR, AD, all that good stuff. So, and then you can be 16 and do that. We work really hand in hand with our aquatics department during our operational part of the season. So absolutely, there's opportunities there.
Either one of the Melissa, do you
yes.
have any
We would-
options for high school?
Anybody that's high school age, we do a lot of outreach programs, and we do go to a lot of chamber lunches, a lot of presentations, and a lot of meetings on that kind of job fairs and things. And we would encourage anyone that wants to join in, come along, ride along, see what we're doing, see where we're at, see what it's, even if nothing else, you're going to trip around the county, see what's in your county, see what's going on, see what's available to you, see what jobs are there. I mean, I was in Kearney, and you don't even really know there's a potato chip factory there. Lived here for quite a while, didn't realize that. But I mean, there are things that it's just interesting to get out and ride around and see what's actually available in your county and what you have there and what we can offer.
And so with us, we don't have high school interns, but if someone wanted to get into my field as far as victim advocacy and you're in high school, go to your local domestic violence shelter, your local sexual assault center, rape crisis counseling. They will love to have volunteers, and they will teach you about advocacy, and you can learn firsthand. It's certain things you can learn in a book, but it's nothing like firsthand knowledge and actually doing it and seeing it in practice.
Thank you, everybody. Quick shout out, since I did for my own school, we have Stacy Holtzclaw with some of her students who's on the call with us from Kearney, Audra Pelham as well, who I know, who likely has students with her, and Dale Garrison, who's also doing some reporting and follow-up for today. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. And again, our NCC kids that I just saw a few minutes ago with Theresa Shirley. So I encourage those of you that are on the calls with kids to definitely type in some questions. We've got some scripted questions, but again, if you have more, we'll definitely love to make sure we get to your questions. So let's go to the next question we have scripted in terms of, what opportunities are there within your industry for promotion? What opportunities would require additional training, certification, education? How do you work your way through, navigate your fields through the different opportunities in terms of promotion?
So for my field with victim advocacy, you have to have a degree in the human service field, whether it's a bachelor's degree in social work, sociology, criminal justice, psychology, and a minimum of 2 years of experience. Where do you get that experience from if you're coming straight out of college? Again, that volunteering in those domestic violence shelters, in those rape crisis counseling shelters. And so, with a degree, I have a bachelor's degree in social work, and that's a very broad degree because you can work for the state level, you can work for local, or you can work for federal government. I've always worked for the federal government, and in victim advocacy in the federal government, depending on what government agency you work for. So one may start you out at this level, and then you just work your way. So I started out with the Department of Defense on the Army side of the house, as we have our grade levels are GS, as a GS9. Then I transferred to the Air Force, and that was a 12. And then I transferred to Homeland Security, and it just kept going up. So in my field in advocacy, if you want to get promoted, you have to be willing to move sometimes to another agency, and you have to be definitely willing to move to another state if you want to be promoted, because it depends on where the job is at, where you're going to get promoted.
Thanks, Teresa. What about you, Raashid? What about promotional opportunities within your department or with Worlds of Fun, or the Worlds of Fun's part of a bigger organization, correct?
Correct. Correct. So Rosa Fund is a part of a company like Cedar Fair that has 11 amusement parks, 10 in the US, 1 in Canada. So there's certainly some opportunities for those who maybe are in college or maybe going to transfer away. As long as we have a park that has an opening, there's certainly an opportunity for there. For us, you actually don't need any certifications because we are a department that looks for individuals who are looking to maybe take the next steps to go towards Teresa's route or go towards Melissa's route, or you want to just go straight to a department. So for us, we actually provide the opportunities for you to get certifications in defensive tactics, the management of aggressive behavior, which is a fancy word for de-escalation, written and verbal communications, CPR, AED. We provide that to you as part of your employment experience here with World of Fun. And then when you leave, we print off a bunch of certificates that you can take with you to your agencies for your next steps. But we also provide leadership opportunities for you to promote within the department as a corporal, as a sergeant, all the way up to my position as director if you stay here long enough. But there are certainly some opportunities that can get you ready for your next steps, whether that be going on to a different agency, going to in the private sector, or going directly into whatever your next steps is for your career enhancement.
Raashid? Melissa, do you have anything to add to that one?
I will say when I started emergency management, I did not know what emergency management was. Like I said, I was at juvenile detention. I had been in detention and, you know, I learned people. I learned de-escalating people. You learn how to, like she had said, it's a bad day for some. Some people are having a really bad day. Some people are going to have a really long bad day. But you learn how to, you respect them, they respect you, that kind of aspect of things. But when emergency management, when I got the opportunity to start here, I realized, okay, there's online training. There's so much independent study. There are professional series. There are so many variables that you can grow into, but emergency management is not just one thing. I work with the law enforcement. I work with fire. I work with health department. I work with government, city, any kind of discipline within there. And I have Emergency Management Institute. I've been through all of the executive master programs. I've done the National Emergency Management Advanced Academy, the Master Public Information Academy. All of those programs work with you, but they give you a database for the nation. I mean, I know people from DHS, people from all over and all different walks of life that are affiliated with emergency management, but you don't realize it until you have that discussion. So it's interesting that, yeah, there are different levels. I have planners, we have admins, we have specialists, and you can work your way up, but you can also go to, you know, a hospital, a health department, World of Fun. There are emergency managers in just about every, you know, discipline now that you can think of.
And it's sad to say, but I know on the higher education side, we have emergency managers. And I think Brian will echo that on the K-12 side of education, that we're also seeing emergency managers as well with just the events of our time and needing those services for us. So
right. And it is definitely growing. So I would encourage anybody to shadow or to find out about it and see what kind of fit works for you, because it could be law enforcement. It might be, you know, more along Teresa's line, but it may just be a general encompassing, hey, I like this aspect of it. Hey, I might find something in there.
Wonderful. So we did have a question come in from our attendees. So Mr. Brown, this is directed to you. How much work is done outside of the Worlds of Fun, Oceans of Fun park hours? You had mentioned the first in the door and the last out the door is your team. So what does that look like?
That's a great question. So typically one would think that security is just present only when the park is operational for the 5 or 6 months out of the year. Our security program is actually functional 365 days a year. So every day of the year, Worlds of Fun Security is here. And the off season is where we take a lot of time to invest in training. Some of our local law enforcement agencies will come out to Worlds of Fun and do some training. So we look for some opportunities of that. Like that, but we also go heavy into recruiting. So going to different colleges around the states of Missouri, Kansas, and sometimes in Nebraska, going out to talk about our internship experience. So for those that are looking for that opportunity, especially when it comes to communication, we're heavy in the off season of investing in training and getting set up for the following year.
Okay. Let's go to the next question. And, you know, what would you say is one of the more challenging things you have to deal with in your career? What's something that challenges you either on a daily basis or something that comes up annually that's just really challenging as part of your job?
for me, when I see the younger kids that I've trafficked and how they got into that situation, because a trusted adult or a trusted family member placed them in that situation. That's a hard part for me.
I would say for me, with having an primarily outdoor entertainment venue, we really only deal with two types of emergencies at Worlds of Fun. It's either going to be a people emergency or a weather emergency. The weather is certainly unpredictable, much like people, but with an outdoor venue like this, you have to be thinking ahead consistently. It could be a beautiful day like today and a thunderstorm could come in. And what do you do when you have thousands of people in one place at one time and all that good stuff? So it's certainly, that's one of the biggest challenges, is having enough foresight to manage whatever emergency may erupt at a critical infrastructure like Worlds of Fun.
Rasheed?
Much like what Raashid said, for us, it is, planning ahead, not for the when it or what if it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So we do planning all the time, but it is, when you see devastation or you see a family that's distraught, kind of like with Teresa, when you deal with something that you can't explain and you really don't have the, anything for it, giving somebody a hug is your best option type situation. Those are the things that you have to go home and try to figure out how to decompress and deal with those situations also.
Now, all of you in the careers you're in, if you had to pick someone in your life that was most influential in getting you into this career, who would that person have been that kind of got you sparked into either getting into Homeland Security, emergency management, or security?
Ooh, it's not just one person. And actually, honestly, when I got out of the military, all I did was promise myself I would never touch another man's tool bag and fix helicopters again. That was the only promise I made myself. I was not looking for advocacy, but when I was in college, because I was a non-traditional student, so when I was in college, my professor, my social work professor, she had been the director for social services for the state of North Carolina. So the governor was her boss, and she put us in different placements. And because I had a military background, she sent me to intern at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, in their victim advocate program. And it just took off from there. And along the way, I had a lot of different mentors to tell me, you have a niche, you're made for this. And I just kept learning all I could and getting all the training I could. And so it kind of fell in my lap. And so I ran with it.
Thank you, Teresa.
I would say for me, like Teresa said, there's definitely a plethora of people who have contributed to my success. The one person I would say is a gentleman by the name of Hugh Mills. Hugh Mills, when I joined security when I was 18, he was the director of security, safety and security here at Worlds of Fun. He saw me at a hiring event and was like, "You're going to work for me this spring." So he pulled me in. Unbeknownst to me, I worked for about 3 years here before I started my law enforcement career. When I left Worlds of Fun, Hugh Mills became the undersheriff of Jackson County. And because of my work ethic, my commitment to Worlds of Fun, he actually took me with him. And Jackson County actually paid for my academy and put me through the whole shebang with them. So, which is, I also like to throw in a shameless plug, that it's important that wherever you work, that you work well and you serve well, because you never know that one person who can look at you or remember you and then kind of catapult you to the next steps in your future.
Thanks, Rasheed.
I say this quite a bit, but like when I came from detention, I started working in emergency management. And at that time, it was Captain Aiken who progressed from Captain Aiken to Dr. Aiken to Sheriff Aiken. So if you can imagine the mentorship I was getting just watching him, which I try, we're really good friends, so I try not to plug him too often, but it seems to work out that way. But no, it was amazing to watch one person be able to do so many things. And then when I got into the emergency management, I realized all of these things I was sitting there doing by myself, getting all excited, going into it. And then I went and did all of the training at EMI. I'm like, it's free, I can go, right? So I did. And I went and did all of that and then got done. But watching him progress in his career and and never stop until he achieved what he wanted. That created a platform for me to do the same. So in turn, by doing this job, I want to do the same for the people that I have working with me or those around me. So to me, it's, keep paying it forward as long as we can keep going. And I, like Raashid said, it's those people that are watching you, you don't know they're watching you, but they are watching you. They want to know, that next job they may need to fill, they're looking to see who's out there that will fit that, fit that spot.
And if I could piggyback off Raashid, when you're in your internship, go to your internship as if that is your job, that you have already been hired. Because I got hired right out of my internship. So I graduated December 13th and started working right back there unpaid on December 15th. And then every job, when I would apply for other government jobs, they call back and call to that supervisor, or they might have a friend, for me, the government is small, they might have a friend or something, and they'll say, hey, you can't go wrong with that hire, or I wouldn't touch that hire with a 10-foot pole. So you never know how you're going to, you think you had a great resume, people are calling around asking about you.
I have definitely done that. When I saw someone previously worked at a company or had an internship at a company, and I knew someone else that wasn't on their reference list, those conversations do happen for sure.
And I would also plug on social media, behave.
Yes.
Mind your manners, do what your mom told you, behave, just behave. It's the nicest thing I could ever say.
So we did have a question that came in from our attendees, and each of you have touched on it briefly, but maybe we can just dig a little bit deeper. They were asking, is there any specific trainings required for someone in your field? And so it sounds like you all have had stacked on top of additional trainings and certificates and degrees. So maybe we could just do a quick run through with each of you, kind of where it started and how many different things you've accomplished to get where you are in the educational part.
There are some advocacy agencies like the Institute of Violence, Abuse, and Trauma, or they're slipping my mind, but they offer like a 40-hour victim advocacy training. There are some other ones that offer like a 40-hour or 80-hour if you want to be with your local rape crisis counseling center. They just don't throw you into these jobs. You might want to volunteer, and they just don't say, okay, great, volunteer, without giving you any type of training. So you can earn a lot of certification that way by wanting to volunteer. And if you're volunteering, they'll pay for your certifications, because if you're willing to invest in that organization will invest in you.
I'm going to offer what Teresa's mentioning. When you show initiative, it pays it back. So we have ICS program or IS programs through, it's the FEMA or Emergency Management Institute. It's all online. You can get, they call independent numbers. Those courses like IS 100, IS 200, those give you an idea of what emergency management is, and in general on social atmospheres. I know, Raashid, I'm sure a lot of those law enforcement, we require them. They are just an all-encompassing thing on structure, organization, and how things need to flow. Those are different things. We go by NIMS, National Incident Management System. Those things are all regulated that we have to or structured through. ICS, those are all, and I can tell you emergency management's full of acronyms, so we can go on for days. But when you get into that aspect of it, it's there are a lot of things to learn. We do Citizens Academy, we do presentations, we do all of the different things, but take advantage of them. These are free. All the IS courses, all of those things you get online, log in, you can do them wherever you want to do them, but they give you an idea of what it is, but they also give you a certification upon each one. So the more of those, I wouldn't say the more of those you get, but if you pay attention to what you're doing and you go and maybe do a little research on what job you're looking for, that shows initiative. That shows that you care enough to go ahead and preemptively do these things, and that will pay you forward.
So do you want to do a quick shout out again? So if they want to go Google that, where they can find those free trainings?
It's the Emergency Management Institute with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. You can also email me again or go to my website, Clay County, Missouri, Clay County Emergency Management.com. I can't say it, but And then any of those, and all of those have links to them. So if you go to the website and click on a picture or click on whatever, it'll link you to the places you need to be.
Thank you. Raashid?
Yeah, so for us, we it's kind of a duality. So we like to get our individuals who are especially set up to go into a police academy set up for success. So all the training environment that we have here is focused from that aspect. But for all of our leadership, so whether you're 18 or 21, it doesn't matter. We require those NEM courses for incident management. We actually pay you on duty to do the course because of how important it is. So we make that investment up front. And then, like I said, we're really just getting individuals set up for their next steps, whatever that may be. There may be individuals who are inquired, like, I really don't want to go the law enforcement route. Maybe I just want to be a communications dispatchers. We're set up like a total police department here to set you up for success or whatever those next steps are for you.
I have a plug for Raashid because when I started at Juvenile, I worked with several people there that had came from Worlds of Fun. And I have several dispatchers that I have worked with that went on to Kansas City or that were here that, you know, it's a great program. A lot of people come and go from there, and I will do high marks. And we have a lot of deputies that are working at Worlds of Fun off duty and helping with security. So it's a great program, and it's great to know when you have community partners that it all works well together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Melissa.
And a couple of those websites, Amy, is the NRCDV Training Institute, the National Resource Center on Domestic Violence, and that's nrcdv.org. And then NOVA, the National Office of Victim Advocacy, nova.org.
Fantastic resources. I hope everybody has their device out right now and Googling those, because it sounds like these are great opportunities to dip your toe in or do something that's beneficial and helpful that maybe isn't, you know, pursuing that whole long degree program. So you can kind of get an idea if that is a fit for you too.
Okay, Amy, you have any other questions you want to ask, or I don't see any out there at this point.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to wrap this up here, guys. So I believe at this time, that's all we have for today. We'd like to thank our guest speakers or our panelists for taking the time to share their passions and insights with us. I hope the people in the audience, I know we had 3 folks that I believe had students with them, so we had a much larger audience than it shows on the participants because we have kids in rooms with adults. Enjoyed hearing about, you know, the thousands of amazing career opportunities that exist right here in Kansas City. 3 of them were mentioned here today. Please be sure to take a minute or 2 to complete the survey that will pop up on your screen after the session ends. This will help us ensure that we are bringing you helpful and relevant content. And to find out more information on educational programs, career opportunities related to our industry that we discussed today, please be sure to visit www.nebaworkskc.org. Be sure to register for more career speaker event series on our website. Really want to thank Raashid, Teresa, and Melissa for joining us today. And I know that very lucky being a principal in the Northland to have students that are participating in this event. And really want to thank Amy and Courtney for behind the scenes and also asking the questions. I think it was a great session. And again, it'll be recorded, and we'll have so we'll make sure to get it out there so other people can see it. So you guys, anybody have anything last second to wrap up before we finish here?
Just thank you very much for having us. And if there's ever anything we can do or anyone has any questions, please, I'm sure any of us would be happy to answer anything we could.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Enjoy the time.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.